The Whole Thread, Episode 4, The Who. The first 3 episodes, Episode 1 showed you why. Control, why confused, ashamed, chronically stressed people are easier to manage than clear, self-trusting, regulated ones. Episode 2 showed you what. The blueprint, the 13-year education structure, the suppression vectors, the legislative and financial architecture, the document that wrote it all down before it happened. Episode 3 showed you how. The operations, the captured institutions, the buried scientists, the leverage systems built from human bodies. This episode is different. This episode has names. Organizations, companies, congressional records, public announcements, SEC filings, court documents, 990 filings you can pull yourself. This is not about hating anyone. It is about understanding the architecture. The architecture runs whether the people inside it know it or not. Some of them do. Some of them don't. The mechanism doesn't care either way. What you are about to see is not 7 separate stories. It is one system with 7 arms. By the end of this episode, you will watch all 7 arms move at the same time, in the same 17-day window, covered by a single news event large enough to keep every camera pointed somewhere else. The 7 arms are the press, Operation Mockingbird, and the captured media infrastructure. The faith layer, the manufactured theology, running 9,500 churches. The surveillance state, Oracle, your health records, and the media merger. The Foreign Disinfo Layer, Epoch Times Falun Gong, and the Bannon connection. The analog leverage system, Epstein and the 48,000 suppressed files. The ideology pipeline, the Trotskyist to neoconservative rebrand, and PNAC. The architecture of access, Nunes Patel, and the Templar thread. Welcome to Episode 4, The Who. Part 1. The press check, the framework, the people, the organizations, and the documented proof. Before we name any current player, we need to build the frame. 1975. The United States Senate convened an investigation through the Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities. This was called the Church Committee. The chairman was Senator Frank Church. What they found had a name. Operation Mockingbird, at least 400 journalists. At least 25 major American news organizations, CBS, the New York Times, Time Magazine, Newsweek, the Associated Press, Reuters, and the Miami Herald. CIA assets inside all of them. Senator Frank Church stated publicly, on the record, in sworn congressional testimony, the CIA had assets in every major media organization in the United States. Church Committee, Final Report, 1976. You can pull it yourself. Carl Bernstein, one of the 2 journalists who broke Watergate, investigated the full scope and published it in Rolling Stone, October 1977. Source from CIA Director William Colby's own congressional testimony. The article ran once. The mainstream press did not follow it, because the mainstream press was the story. That is the frame. What follows is not a rogue operation from the 1970s. It is the evolved architecture of that same function. Operating today, the press framework, the dedicated media series goes deeper. Every name, every network, how it runs right now. Part 2. The faith layer. Some of the key players are John Nelson Darby, Cyrus Schofield, Charlie Kirk, Sun Myung Moon, C. Peter Wagner, Paula White, Lou Engle. Organizations, Turning Point USA Faith, the Unification Church, the New Apostolic Reformation, Oxford University Press. The documents will be discussing Schofield Reference, Bible 1909, Fraser Report 1978, TPUSA 990 Filings, Seven Mountains Mandate, Public Law 102-14, Noahide Laws 1991, and more. The places 303 geofenced megachurches, Washington Times, and a dissolved Nevada foreign agent, entity, and others. In 1909, a man named Cyrus Schofield published a reference Bible through Oxford University Press. Schofield was a documented con man, charged with forgery. He abandoned his family. He had no formal theological training. Oxford published his Bible anyway. What Schofield did was embed a theology invented in the 1830s by a British preacher named John Nelson Darby directly into the margins of the King James Bible, printed in the same typeface, on the same page, indistinguishable from Scripture to a casual reader. The rapture, the end-time sequence, the theological mandate that Christians must support the modern state of Israel or risk standing against God's plan. None of that existed in Christian theology before 1830. There is no church father who taught it, no council that endorsed it. John Nelson Darby invented it. Cyrus Schofield put it in the margins of a Bible, with Oxford's imprint on the cover. That Bible became the most widely distributed reference Bible in American evangelical history. Turning Point USA Faith. Charlie Kirk's explicitly religious arm currently operates a church network of approximately 9,500 churches across the United States, every one of them running on a theology manufactured 115 years ago by a con man. The 990 filings show $4.1 million traceable to Israeli government sources, geofenced to target 303 specific megachurches, a dissolved Nevada entity registered as a foreign agent of Israel connected to the TPUSA financial structure, Sun Moon's Unification Church, the Fraser Report 1978 congressional investigation, documented it as a foreign-funded influence operation dressed as religion. Moon's Washington Times, founded in 1982, is still operating. It was never a newspaper. Peter Wagner published the Seven Mountains Mandate, the doctrine that Christians must take dominion over government, media, education, business, family, arts, and religion. His movement, the New Apostolic Reformation, counts Paula White, Trump White House spiritual advisor, among its public figures. They are not hiding it. Wagner wrote it down. The Seven Mountains Mandate and the Heritage Foundation. The mandate got the policy vehicle it needed. The Heritage Foundation produced Reagan's mandate for leadership. The same institution produced Project 2025, the governance blueprint currently being implemented. Russell Vaught's chapter explicitly calls for orienting federal agencies toward biblical values. The foreign policy arm exported democracy with bombs. The domestic policy arm is replacing democracy with dominion. Same institution, same document, same window. There is one more layer. This one is federal law. March 20th, 1991. Public Law 102-14. Official title: Education Day, USA. What's actually inside it? The 7 Noahide laws encoded into us, federal statute, as the foundation of American civilization. Chabad Lubavitch, named as the embodiment of those principles. Passed unanimously, no public debate, every president from Reagan forward has signed a version annually. Schneerson's own published words: every Jew has the obligation to ensure all peoples observe the Noahide laws. Not suggested, obligation. 7 mountains. Christians govern 7 spheres according to biblical law. Noahide framework. All non-Jews governed by rabbinical authority, with no sovereign jurisdiction of their own. Both use the number 7. Both target the same institutional spheres. Both encoded in us federal law. One governs from inside the institutions, one governs the governed. They converged. They published it. Congress published it. They just called it Education Day. The dedicated faith series goes into the full architecture. Part 3. The Surveillance State in Private Hands. Oracle Corporation. Larry Ellison. Oracle was named after a CIA project. Launched with the CIA as its first customer. This is documented. Ellison has stated publicly, for 23 years. First on record in 2002. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we are constantly recording everything. Oracle holds a contract for the electronic health records of 150 million Americans. Diagnoses, prescriptions, treatment histories, behavioral health records. Oracle holds classified Department of Defense Systems contracts. February 27, 2026. Oracle closes its merger with Paramount Warner. $111 billion. David Ellison, Larry Ellison's son, now controls CBS, CNN, HBO, Nickelodeon, and Paramount. The same company that holds your health records and the classified military cloud now controls the primary television news and entertainment infrastructure for the United States. The dedicated surveillance series traces the full architecture. Part 4. The Foreign Disinfo Layer. Some key players and organizations include Bill Guo Wengui, Miles Guo, Steve Bannon, Epoch Times NTD Television, Shenyun Performing Arts, Falun Gong, and the Department of Justice. We'll discuss documents, which include the DOJ indictment of Bill Guo, DOJ indictment of Bannon and Guo Wengui, Epoch Times, NTD Television, Shenyun Performing Arts. All three tied to Falun Gong, the Chinese spiritual movement banned in China in 1999. Bill Guo, CFO of Epoch Times, indicted by the DOJ on conspiracy to commit money laundering and conspiracy to commit bank fraud. $67 million documented in the indictment. Guo Wengui, also known as Miles Guo, was indicted alongside Steve Bannon on separate fraud charges. That connection places this infrastructure in direct documented contact with the Trump political orbit. A media operation that appears to be journalism. That is actually something else. The dedicated media series goes deeper and unravels the connections. Part 5. The analog leverage system, and some of the people involved include Jeffrey Epstein, Leslie Wexner, Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, Mike Jeffries, Jean-Luc Brunel, and any other co-conspirators and abusers. Also discussing the roles of the former United States Attorney General Alex Acosta and the current United States Attorney General Pam Bondi. Organizations involved include FBI, Department of Justice, and KVH Industries. Documents to be discussed will include Jeffrey civil testimony, Epstein Files Transparency Act, and the Department of Justice announcement, and some of the places including Epstein properties, Wexner's properties, and the modeling agencies used to recruit victims. Virginia Giuffre's civil testimony documents the trafficking operation and the intelligence-adjacent structure. Maria Farmer reported Epstein in 1996. FBI hid the documents. Alexander Acosta engineered the 2008 plea deal. In 2017, in a documented meeting with Trump transition officials, 2 witnesses reported his words on the record. Epstein belonged to intelligence. Pam Bondi was the Florida Attorney General from 2011 2019. She did nothing for 8 years, and as United States Attorney General, she has suppressed information and has held no one accountable. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was a documented British intelligence asset. He died in 1991. 3 government's intelligence services attended his funeral. March 4, 2026. The DOJ removes 48,000 Epstein files from the public database during peak Iran war coverage. The Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits it. They did it anyway. The leverage system wasn't Epstein. Epstein was a mechanism. The leverage system is whatever those 48,000 files contain. The dedicated Epstein series stands alone and will cover every name involved. Part 6. The ideology that rebranded twice. Some of the key people: Leon Trotsky, Joseph Stalin, Irving Kristol, Norman Podhoretz, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, and Penn Kimball, and some of the organizations: City College of New York, American Enterprise Institute, Heritage Foundation, Project for a New American Century, Commentary Magazine, and University of South California Center on Public Diplomacy. Documents: Project for the New American Century's members list, and September 2000 document, and Irving Kristol published writings. 1936, Stalin's Purges. The surviving Bolshevik intellectuals concentrate in New York, the circles around City College of New York. Irving Kristol, his own published words. He called himself a Trotskyist. He later called himself the godfather of neoconservatism. Trotsky's permanent revolution becomes neoconservatism's export democracy forever. Different language, identical mechanism. What they built: the American Enterprise Institute, the Heritage Foundation. Commentary Magazine, the Project for a New American Century, signed by Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz. 13 months before 9/11. The Project for a New American Century publishes a document stating the transformation of American military posture would require a catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. Same people, same ideology. Rebranded twice. The organizational bridge is now documented. Penn Kimball founded the Committee for a Democratic Majority, the organization that Joshua Moravchik, writing on American Enterprise Institute's own website, identified as the most important organization in the formative development of neoconservatism. He served as Deputy Director of the United States Information Agency under Clinton, where he launched Education for Democracy, a program explicitly designed to spread democratic civic culture into Eastern Europe. By 1997, that program had become a standalone NGO. That same year, Project for the New American Century was founded. Kimball is listed as a member on PNXE's own organizational documents. One person, the same project. 3 institutional vehicles. 60 years of documented organizational continuity running from the 1937 Social Democratic Federation founding document to the Project for the New American Century. That is not ideology drifting rightward over time. That is a documented pipeline. The dedicated ideology series traces the full lineage. Part 7. The Architecture of Access. Some of the people discussed are Devin Nunes, Kash Patel, Christopher Miller, King Dinis of Portugal. Some of the organizations include the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, National Security Council, Department of Defense, Trump Media and Technology Group, President's Intelligence Advisory Board, Order of Christ, Knights Templar, Order of Prince Henry the Navigator. Documents include White House President's Intelligence Advisory Board announcement, Trump media's EC filings, congressional record, Laje's military field, the Azores Intelligence Center fight, and the Portuguese government Grand Officer of the Order of Prince Henry the Navigator records, Devin Nunes and Kash Patel. Total's documented career. 2017. Nunes is senior counsel on the House Intelligence Committee. 2018. Primary author of the Nunes Memo, 2019 National Security Council. 2020 Chief of Staff to Acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, and confirmed FBI Director in 2025, and every move ran through Nunes's network. Nunes holds a formal foreign knighthood, Grand Officer of the Order of Prince Henry the Navigator, awarded by presidential decree of the Portuguese government. Prince Henry the Navigator was Grand Master of the Order of Christ, created in 1319 to preserve the Knights Templar after Pope Clement V dissolved the order. Portugal refused to comply. The Templars didn't end in Portugal. They rebranded. Nunes currently holds two simultaneous positions: CEO of Trump Media and Technology Group and chair of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, the body that advises the president on whether the CIA and FBI are functioning properly. A man with a foreign knighthood from Portugal now chairs the body that tells the president what the intelligence community is doing. The dedicated Access Architecture series goes into the full thread. Part 8. 17 Days. People: David Grush, Elon Musk. Organizations: Department of Justice, Oracle, Grok, United States Military. Operation: Epic Fury. Grok Government Security Systems, Authorization. Documents: UAP Disclosure Act, Epstein Files Transparency Act, Oracle SEC Merger Filing. Places: Iran. February 27 to March 15, 2026. 5. Operations. Running simultaneously. One news event covering all of them. 1. The Iran War. Operation Epic Fury. 2,000 strikes across 24 of Iran's 31 provinces in 72 hours, beginning February 28, 2026. 2. Oracle Paramount Warner merger closed February 27, 2026 for $111 billion. Surveillance infrastructure and media infrastructure into one entity. Announced the day before the Iran strikes. 3. Epstein file suppression, March 4, 2026, 48,000 files were pulled from the public database during peak Iran war coverage. 4. UAP disclosure stonewalling. David Grush, decorated intelligence officer, testified under oath before Congress that the U.S. government holds non-human craft and biological material. The UAP Disclosure Act was gutted in December 2023. His testimony sits unresolved. 5. February 28, 2026. Grok, Elon Musk's XAI, was authorized for Department of Defense's IL-5 classified government systems. Same day Iran strikes begin. That is not a news cycle. That is a cover operation. Not a conspiracy. A system. Designed, funded, and operated across generations by specific institutions with documented interests in the outcome. Episode 5 is about what you do with knowing this information.